So I feel that this video is very, very necessary. Let's just all come together and collectively take a deep, mindful breath. Slowly breathe in. And exhale, because I am about to go in on this video. Part of me kind of feels bad for these desperate white beta male cuckold men that have been inundating me with these messages, just desperate requests for me to somehow become a part of their life and allow them to live out their cuckold fantasies. I think I've said this over and over again, and I know that apparently people, these guys who send me these inbox messages, they don't watch my videos thoroughly. You can't, because I've definitely addressed this issue before. I've made it very, very clear that while I can talk openly, freely, non-judgmentally, and very critically about cuckolding, it's not my thing. It's just not. Like, I like to talk about alternative sexual lifestyles, but that's just not my preference, guys. So save yourself, okay? Save yourself from wasting time typing up these long email requests, right? Like, you're trying to hit on me. I'm like, I'm not interested. I have no interest in that whatsoever. And let's rewind a bit, because that's not the only messages that I receive. I mean, I get that I am phenotypically attractive to a lot of people here that follow me on social media, okay? I know that, alright? But in that same vein, I have no interest in dating any one of you guys. I have no interest in small talking with any one of you guys from my social media platform. It's just not my thing. Absolutely. Like, I get online, right? Of course, I make these very funny posts, like I just did today, saying how I think I'm going to come out my 2-year hibernation because I have not had sex since like January 2021, right? And I said that I was going to come out my 2-year hibernation, but the dick better be good, and if not, I'm going to end up on first 48. And all of a sudden, like, my inbox just blows up. Like, seriously? Seriously? Y'all really think y'all have a shot? I mean, do people really do that? Do people really, like, meet up with people that they are friends with and connected to on social media? Because I'm not the one. Like, that's not me. I think that y'all just don't quite know me. I think it should be very clear, though. But a lot of y'all watch my videos, but y'all really don't know me, okay, as a person. Let's talk about it, though, for a little bit. In terms of my preference, that's not what this video is about. I'm here to really address the desperate cuckold men. And I'm going to read this latest email that I received from this 30-year-old beta white cuckold man. He's just, y'all will see, okay? The level of desperation is real out here, but I think it's very dangerous at the same time, because with that level of desperation and carelessness, I think, in going about trying to get your sexual needs met and to fulfill your sexual fantasies, you're going to run into some problems. So this is just a fair warning. This is me being kind. Of course, I'm very compassionate. I do care about people genuinely, right? So I think that's probably where y'all kind of get it mistaken. But my preference is not beta men. And I was thinking today as I was getting dressed, I said to myself, it's not that there's a shortage of men, right? I think there's a shortage of eligible, preferable dating men. Because when you think about it, like, the ratio of men to women is about equal, right? In terms of the birth rate, it's just as many men as there are women. But I think that in terms of dating preferences, especially for myself, I'm just speaking for my own self, right, that I am very selective about who I choose to date. not only date, but who I choose to interact with and be friends with, right? If, like, I'm the kind of person, and of course this may seem very self-serving, I admit it is, right? Very conceited. Hey, it is. But I'm the kind of person, if I don't see a benefit of you being in my life, you're not going to be in my life, involved in my life, right? Like, what is the benefit? I've said this before. What is the benefit of me taking a chance and getting myself involved with what do I benefit? Absolutely nothing. All right, it's not my thing. It's not my preference. But I like men who are well endowed, not just between their legs, but financially, obviously. I think it just speaks to their level of ambition, their level of self-esteem. It just speaks to like who they are as a person who is very high achieving, right? Who has high levels of success. I think obviously is very driven. You know, you're self-motivated. And that's the kind of person that I'm going after. I like people who have high social status, right? Who think highly of themselves, because I do. I think very highly of myself, and I know exactly who I am. And I, yes, have dated men who were on the other end of that spectrum, who had low self-esteem, who were not that ambitious. And for me, it didn't do much for me. If anything, I was so repulsed by these men. It wasn't many. Like, I'm thinking about one man in particular, right, who actually I dated for like a 5-year span. But it just wasn't my thing. Like, it just irked me to see, like, how he lacked a degree of initiative. Like, I was the one taking charge in that relationship. I was the one wearing the pants. I was the one calling the shots. And I get it. There are men who love that, who love to be in that subservient position. It turns them on, but it irks me. It turns me off. So what do I gain in that dynamic? Absolutely nothing. It's just not my preference. And if anything, it makes me annoyed. It makes me, like, it gets like, I don't think y'all quite understand, like, how much it disturbs my being to be amongst a man like that, right? You know, like, to each his own, right? I'm not here to judge those type of men who have those kind of disposition and characteristics about themselves, right? Because, yes, we're all made different, but it's just not my cup of tea. And just even imagining myself, like, it's just making my skin crawl. Imagining myself with a person like that. Because I've been there, you know, and yeah, it's very frustrating. And for me, I can see it not ending well. So I've said this before, because to have men that, because I'm the nature of my videos, I talk about cuckolding. I have men who reach out to me and literally beg me to allow them to be at my feet. I'm like, y'all have no idea. That's a very dangerous position, I think, to be in, especially with a person like me. It's a reason why that I am consciously choosing a preference of an alpha male. I need that in my life, right? That's the only way it's going to work. It has to be alpha and definitely dominant. He has to be very strong-willed and have a very strong backbone, because I am that way. And I will definitely run over any man that doesn't measure up to that. Like, it's just not going to work. I'm very smart. I will outsmart you. I will manipulate you. I know this about myself. I'm very honest, at least, right? And so, like, I know it's not going to end well. Like, I imagine myself in a situation like that. And I know for some men who get off on pain, right, like myself, it's just funny because, like, you guys are asking me to do something to yourself that I want done to myself. Like, that's me, right? I'm a submissive, right? I'm a masochist. But for men who get off on being subservient, right, being submissive in a relationship dynamic, and you end up with a woman like myself, you are going to regret it, right? You're going to be like that black man who I made a whole video, because he emailed me, right? It's not that I just talked about him, and as he said in his follow-up email after seeing my video that, oh, I muddy the waters. Like, he was like completely disgusted by my video response, but I just had to be real. Like, you would end up like him, this black man. He's a cuckold, and he's telling me about his experience, his negative fucking experience, and fucking nightmarish experience of being a cuckold black man with a woman who really took advantage of him. I mean, that's what you wanted, right? Like, you went into that relationship with very low self-esteem, right? Like, you went in not thinking highly of yourself, right? You thought very lowly of yourself. This is what you wanted, right? You wanted her to abuse you, essentially, financially. You wanted her to sleep with other men. You gave her that permission in that relationship. Yet, at the tail end of it, you're like, woe is me. Woe is me. I can't believe she did this to me. I am the victim. It's just like, you see how people play into that role? It's like, this is who they are. As if they don't know. As if they don't know that's who they are, right? They want to be treated like the scum of the earth. And then when they are treated that way, and then they're discarded, right? Because that's part of being treated like you're not worth anything, is that at the end you're discarded, then you feel like you're triggered, right? And you feel a sense of abandonment. And that's why, like, I made a whole video, I made many videos on the pitfalls of cuckolding, right? Some warning signs you need to pay attention to. Some red flags, right? We talked about the dangers of cuckolding. Go look at my cuckold playlist on YouTube. I created a whole series just on cuckolding. And I noticed, I looked at it, I think, yesterday, and I have like 70 videos in that playlist. But I did make explicitly a video discussing like the safety precautions one should take in this lifestyle. And I had to go there and mention, as I do in many of my videos, because I come from a psychology background, right? For me, mental health is very important, and knowing thyself, right? And I emphasize the importance of knowing who you are as a person. A lot of people don't know themselves and why they are the way they are. We want to get into this email this person sent, because he kind of spoke a little bit to that, saying that he was going to share with me why he is this way, but he never did. I'm like, I don't think you quite know, and I think that's important to first explore that. So for me, I'm a psychologist, right? And a part of my training, as with most psychologists, we are asked to go to see a therapist, to see a psychologist, right? I did that when I was back in Los Angeles as part of my training. I went to see a psychoanalyst, actually. And I remember that she tried to heal me, so to speak, right? She tried to do this reverse conditioning in my mind so that I no longer wanted to be a submissive to a man. I no longer wanted to get spanked or beaten, because I actually really prefer beatings, and I like bondage. And I told this, or I expressed myself, like, I'm pretty transparent, because I know I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I know who I am. And so I expressed that, like, in one of my earlier sessions, that, you know, I have this thing about me, and it's not, for me, I know a lot of people fetishize these activities, like bondage and spankings and things like that. They, like, make it very sexual, but for me, it's deeper than sex. I understand where that need comes from, right? Like, I've reflected on my earlier childhood upbringing in depth, right? As a writer myself, like, I've been doing this since like elementary school. I remember we had to like write essays on our family and our life, aspects of our life, and I would talk about this like in 3rd grade, like in essays, right? About the type of discipline, so to speak, I got in my household from my mom. It was really abuse, physical abuse. And emotional abuse, but I went through this, right? And so, of course, as I've developed, I've come to an awareness that, okay, yes, there is a connection between the way my mom loved me, so to speak, or disciplined me, and the type of love that I seek in men is very crystal clear, right? Hello, good morning. And so in therapy, when I was seeing my psychologist, like, I saw that it was her intention to try to reverse that, right? She knew that I already had that awareness within myself. I'm very self-aware. I have a lot of insight into my own behavior, my motivations, and who I am. But she just wanted to like reverse that. And of course I put up resistance. I mean, I was open to hearing her perspective. I'm always open to different perspectives, right? Curious to see if what a person says can make better sense than what I'm saying, right? And so she said it, she put it this way. She said, so you want to exchange your submission, that you want to give a man submission in exchange for him like taking care of you, or something like that, she said, right? And it's just the way she said it, it made me think. I'm just like, hold the fuck up. Because the way she put it, she actually increased the value of submission. The way she put it, she was like, because, you know, and I felt like first with the way she said it, she had it wrong, right? So of course, like, I'm already on the defense. I'm like, hold up, that's not quite exactly why I like submission towards a man. So of course I got on the defense, but then I had to think, like, read between the lines, and what I got from that statement was that, wow, submission, like, obviously everything is valuable that you give to a person, right? But she even heightened the level of value that submission had, right? She raised the stock, and I was just like, bingo. It makes so much sense, right? And then heightening the value of my submission to a man, understanding that it is a gift. I knew that before I went to see her, right? But increasing that value of that gift, it just made me more protective of it, essentially. So that's what I got from therapy, just being more protective of the gift of submission to a man, right? Because she was like, oh, that's what you want. It's like a transactional kind of exchange. Like, you want to give a man submission, like, in exchange for him, like, taking care of you. Because I told her that these are the things that I like, and that's how she framed it. She kind of put together this interpretation based on what I told her my interests were, my desires were, right, for the type of relationship dynamic that I was seeking. And I'm like, damn, yo, that shit kind of stung. It resonated with me, and I still remember that to this day. So I say that to say, like, I've done the work. I've went to therapy. From that, though, I always say, and I make it very clear that, no, it's not that I left necessarily a completely changed person, and I no longer have this interest in BDSM and bondage and spankings. Hell no. If anything, I probably desire it more, but I'm definitely more calculated and more protective of that gift and giving that just to anyone indiscriminately, you know. Yes, because it is like a deep embedded desire that I have that obviously stems way back to when I was a young child, you know. I remember just like being a young child and obviously enduring spankings, and I just made a post on Facebook, which people always laugh about. I don't quite see it funny, but I understand that people use laughter as a way to kind of mask their hurt, their pain, you know, other emotions that they may be ashamed of, right? So laughter is a more socially acceptable emotion. But when I say I don't quite understand, of course I understand. But I don't agree with it, right? I don't agree with people responding to childhood abuse with laughter. So there's many memes, obviously, that are circulating on social media. But there's one recently that I posted, and I thought it just captured the essence of what the impact of childhood physical abuse has on adults, right? And just it really like encapsulates the gravity of this experience that unfortunately a lot of black people have endured as children, and it has lingering effects. So the post says, the meme said that I can't believe, or I can't imagine, as an adult being beat with an extension cord. But yet this is what we were beaten with as children. Imagine, I'm 39, I just turned 39 September 28th, right? So the post says, imagine, as an adult, can you imagine being beaten? Bare skin, beaten with an extension cord. And knowing that today, here in America, that is illegal. If you were to pick up an extension cord and beat another adult person with that extension cord, you will be going to jail. That is physical assault, right? But to know that as a child, as children, we were treated that way. We endured that level of pain as children, right? So I shared that as a post, and people, the response was mostly laughter. People are laughing at this. What the fuck is funny about that? I just think that that's just part of the dysfunction within the black community, is that, we laugh at things that we shouldn't be laughing at. There's nothing funny we don't understand how that factors into so many different aspects of our dysfunction as a black community, right? As we have gotten older, which really, I don't think we've really matured. How have we matured as adults, It has stagnated us, and that's the whole nother video, right? That's definitely a whole separate video, but I just had to emphasize that. So yes, I'm aware of that connection, right? But it's just so deeply ingrained, and it's so much a part of who I have become, who I am. And I was gonna say, yes, I remember as a young child, while I was enduring this fucking harsh ass punishment, right? And let's be clear, okay? I know that there are parents who may, pick up a shoe, right? Not to minimize that even, but they use a shoe, for example, or they may use their hand to spank their child. I'm not completely against spankings for children, though I wouldn't do that because of the extent and the level, the gravity of beatings that I got. I don't think I would want to do that to my children in the future, but there are parents who use, I would say, appropriate instruments to discipline their children, and then there are parents who have taken it to the extreme. So I remember when I was going through it, the process was essentially strip down, butt naked, right? Lay across the bed. When I say butt naked, literally, right? Lay across the bed, and my mom would pick one of her choice weapons, extension cord, cable cord. And when I tell this story to people who are mature thinkers, right, they're really shocked. That's a response you should have, not laughter, right? What is funny about this? Nothing funny at all. But yeah, leather belt, right? Usually it was extension cord or cable cord, and beat the shit out of me, right? As I'm laying across the bed, defenseless. And I would get up with welts on my body, and the more we would cry, me and my sister, the more we got beat, right? So it was we had to stop crying in order for the beating to stop. Can you imagine the level of fucking trauma that caused within me, right? And I'm aware of it. But I definitely know where my desires of being, dating a man who is consenting to this level of interaction and dynamic being co-created between us. Not that it comes out of anger, and I think a lot of times when I was growing up, yes, I did things that broke the rules. A lot of times it was very petty offenses, I would have to say, right? The way I said 7:30, I would say 7:30, as a joke with my sister. Just little petty shit we would get beat for. But what was I saying? See, I'm just thrown off. Yeah, so yeah, the level of trauma and me as an adult having this craving for this type of dynamic. And yes, it has to be consensual, right? It has to be like a mutually agreed upon thing. Oh, I was saying that, and it doesn't come from anger, which a lot of my childhood beatings came from. Like my mom was like infuriated, she was like angry, and I know that wasn't a good place. She was bitter. She had her own issues dealing, that she was dealing with, and I was raised by both my mom and my father. We all lived together under the same roof. My dad definitely had a different approach, but it's like, yeah, so as an adult, like, I definitely crave that. I love it. It's just like, it's kind of like an addiction, right? It's like something that, isn't really good, but it feels so good in the moment. It just feels so good when I'm getting beaten, like literally beaten by a man. And yeah, and so like for me, my relationships, like going into relationships with men, it's very complicated because, like, obviously a lot of men are not there psychologically, which could be a good thing, right? Like, a lot of men just aren't there. And then the ones who are there, I have to take caution. So this is like in parallel to what I'm about to address here in this video, is that, yeah, like, you have to know where is this desire or fetish coming from on both ends. So as a cuckold man, what drives that desire for you to be cuckold? And on the other end of that, for the other person you're going to be involved with, this dominatrix, or the other person on the other side of the dynamic, like, what's driving them? You see, I think it's important for me to lay that foundation. Sometimes it's like, yes, I'm very verbose in my videos. You're like, oh, you talk a lot, just get to the point. But I think scholars and people who are intellectual thinkers can appreciate me taking my time on videos and setting the foundation, because you have to set the context of things so you can get a clearer picture of my point being made. So understand what's driving that person's desire to be a dominatrix, right, or a cuckold, or for me being a submissive, right? I definitely understand what drives that desire, and being a masochist in conjunction with that. But it's difficult for me in terms of dating, because like a lot of men, like a lot of men who come with that presentation of dominance, like it comes from ill intent, right? It's not coming from a safe space. And for me, just taking caution, right, and being protective over my gift, I have to approach dating differently. Because I know that I have that vulnerability about myself. Like, I know myself, right? I know that when I am in the presence of a man that I'm attracted to physically and emotionally and psychologically and politically, yes, I'm very vulnerable, and I'm weak, and I can easily be taken advantage of. It's like part of me wants to, in a way, right? Part of me wants to submit and just to give this gift to this person. But it can end up in a dangerous space. Like, I've been there. That was my last relationship that lasted for 3 years, from 2014 to 2017. And since, like, I haven't really, like, found myself to, like, I haven't found it within myself to really fall in love, I would say, I think it's a good thing, though, because I endured so much in that relationship. It was very transformative. So I'm about to read this email as my laptop had time to charge up. But feel free, you guys, to share your thoughts on that. Like, I'm taking my time with this part of the video because I think that it's very important. Like, slow down. Yes, this is a craving that you have, and this is like deeply embedded in your DNA. Like, to the every fiber of who you are, every fiber of your being, every crevice, of every aspect of your physiological makeup, right? I get it. I definitely understand. But yeah, you must take caution. Otherwise, you just might end up as a corpse. But let's read this email here. So I had sent out this inquiry early this morning because one of my hobbies is like looking at um, like touring like properties, right, across different places. I do this everywhere I go, every place I live. I like to tour properties for sale. And so I was looking at this $6.7 million 5-story townhome, and I think it's Upper West Side. I was looking at that this morning, and I submitted an inquiry saying I would like to schedule a tour, and then they replied right away, like, when? It's funny. But who knows? I might be, who knows? I might be buying a $6.7 million home. Anything is possible, okay? Alright, let's read this email. So he says, and this is like, yeah, it irks me because I'm just like, why? Why do y'all insist, right? I don't have any interest. This is not me. Maybe, I guess, the way I come off, right? I come off maybe as a potential dominatrix woman, you know? Because I know I have dominant characteristics, but that's not my thing. I have no interest in that, but I do like to sometimes entertain the discussion here in my videos and to see what your reply is. So he says, and he sent this, when did he send this? He sent this September 20th. So he says, I'm a 30-year-old white man, and I just wanted to speak with someone like yourself about a few things regarding today's culture. And I have to emphasize that, listen, when you guys reach out to me and email me, whether via my Facebook inbox or directly like to my email address, I think it will serve you and myself, right, in the interest of time, to just state whatever it is, that just get it all out in that first email, right? Just say it. You know, it's just like, y'all like, oh, can you talk, or are you available? I've gotten so many are you available to chat messages. I sometimes want to just turn off that ability on my social media so that you guys are not able to message me there. But then I feel like I don't want to miss out in case someone does have, you know, something important to say, right? And of course, there's an automated reply on my Facebook Messenger where if you inbox me there, you're going to get an automated reply directing you to send me an email. That's how I kind of weed out the bullshit, you know. But yeah, just get to the point. I'm a to the point kind of person. Like, ironically speaking, right? Because I know that I can be very elaborative in my talking points, but I'm straight to the point. I'm very direct at the same time too. So just say what it is that you have in mind. I get that a lot of y'all just be wanting to interact. You want to have conversations. I'm not really here for that. I've explored the possible idea of doing consultations maybe in the near future. Yeah, it could be very near, as I'm approaching my licensure. So I'll have more time, I think, to devote to things of that sort. But for now, no. And then in that case, like, my time is not free. I think this is the issue where y'all getting it mixed up. Yes, I'm a vlogger. I come here and I interact with you guys like live, and I respond to your emails. But in the case where I'm going to be interacting live, let's say via video or phone call, I definitely would like to be paid for my time, okay? And I'm not with the bullshit. Like, I'm not here to entertain any of your sexual fantasies in that way, right? To have it manifested. You know, I'm here to, we could talk about it all day, but that's not my thing. I'm not here for that. I have no interest in any of you. So I replied because he's saying that he wants to speak to someone like myself about a few things regarding today's culture, okay? So he's like very broad in this initial email, and I'm just like, what about today's, like, get to the fucking point. What about today's culture? So I said, what's on your mind? He sends a reply, "Are you around?" And then he says, "Any chance of a phone call?" And he leaves his fucking phone number. Like, yo, no. I'm not calling anybody. No interest in that. But I'm curious to see where is he located. So I'm about to Google his area code to see. Definitely not calling it Florida. Oh, gosh. Fucking Florida. Looks like Southern Florida. But anyway. Then he goes, so he leaves his phone number, right? Any chance of a phone call. And then I let him know, like, sorry, like, I'm not available for phone consultation at this time. But what is your comment or question? Like, get to the point, okay? He says, "I'm just a white guy, a cuck, a true submissive and obedient white man." Like, the level of desperation here, he's advertising himself. "For my black queens and kings. I just wanted to express my feelings to a black queen who would understand why I am the way I am." So I get it. That's probably why y'all come to me and send me these messages, because I am understanding, right? I can think outside of my perspective and understand other people's perspective. And I've seen where, I think I commented on one of my videos, right? Kind of just expressing what I've stated here over and over again, that, nah, bro. Nah, I ain't here for that. Right? And so someone replied and was like, "Oh, so why are you, like, why am I talking about it or whatever if I don't want men to, like, message me, right, expressing their interest, trying to solicit my participation in these freaking fantasies?" There's like, "Oh, why, you know, what do you expect," right, kind of thing. And then someone else, you know, answered for me, thank you, to say that I don't have to fucking entertain y'all fetishes. I can talk about what the fuck I want to talk about. But anyway, so yes, I'm very understanding. He says, "Black dominance and superiority is what I worship, as I should. I just want to let my black queens know that I am their white servants and I am subject to whatever treatment my black queens and kings want." But why are you telling me this? Like, I feel like, what is it doing for you? We can talk about it, and I can, you know, give my take on your perspective or your desire, your deep embedded desire. But, like, why are you telling the wrong person? Like, I definitely can't meet that. I'm not going to meet, you know, like, what the fuck? Like, I made it very clear that my preference, first of all, is black men. You're not black, bruh. You're 30 years old. You're much younger than what my preferred preference is if you were black. And you're fucking a beta male. You're a cuck. Like, I'm not attracted to that. Why can't y'all get it through your freaking skull, okay? Then he continues, when he sends another fucking email. Like, he emails me like a whole chain of fucking emails back to back. He says, "I just really want to hear from a black queen that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and that I'm a good little white." Go find you one. Like, yo, I don't think it's that hard for a white cuckold beta male to go find a dominatrix. They exist. Some may do it for pay, right? They want you to pay them for their services and their time, especially. But they're out there. There are a lot of black women out there. I think the confusing part is what he's saying here, right? So he goes, "My girlfriend and I want to go to," like, yo, you're confused. So you have a girlfriend, presumably that is white, right? You're saying you want to go to Africa. I think he's just saying shit to try to, like, get me to respond, which I don't really do that. I don't go back and forth in inbox messages. Like, I'm not about to engage in a whole back and forth conversation with you. I will take your topic suggestion, right, your idea, bring it to social media, use it for content, clearly. That's what I do. I'm a content creator. I don't think y'all kind of caught on to that. A lot of y'all just, like, over your fucking head, right? But that's what I'm here for. I'm a fucking business person first. I'm an entrepreneur, okay? Understand that about me. But yeah, that's the extent. I'm not about to sit up here and be fucking having conversations with y'all. Like, "Oh, can you call me?" No. I don't even do that with people who have a legit business. Like, I have people who are making proposals to me, legitimate businesses, right? That they are business owners. I see that they're making money. These people are financially well off, have reached out to me and are wanting me to collaborate with them. I have turned them down from a phone conversation. So what makes you think that you stand a chance at someone, random motherfucker from my Facebook videos, my YouTube fucking channel, wanting me to entertain you and take time out my day to have a phone conversation with you? It's not going to happen. What the fuck do I gain from this? Nothing. I have no interest in you. Anyway, he says, my girlfriend and I want to go to Africa, and I want to give her to any African king who wants her. You don't gotta go to Africa to get an African king, so to speak, right? And she does too. Is this okay? Yo, it's not about it being okay, right or wrong. If that's what you have a fantasy, and you want to explore that with a black man, right, who is well endowed, and you want her to be with him sexually, that's your business. Go do it. Like, are you seeking my advice? Is that what you're wondering? He says, I want our trip to Africa for my girlfriend to be black bread. Is this bad? I want this. So you're saying you want to do interracial breeding, where you're going to offer your white wife to a black man there so that he can impregnate her. I think a lot of African men would sign up for that. A lot probably would not, because, you know, contrary to what you may think about Africans on the continent, a lot of them have no interest in white women. It's not like over here. You know, over here in the U.S., yeah, a lot of black men have been whitewashed, right? Brainwashed to believe that the white coochie is better, apparently, or the white ice is better, right? So they are desperate to be with a white woman, right? They fantasize about it. They live it. It's not hard for them to actually live that fantasy, to get a white woman, to be seen with a white woman, hand in hand in public. Like, that's what gives them a sense of pride and status, you know, for them, right? And they have many opportunities to live that, right? To actualize that here in the United States, because I think it's more socially accepted. It's actually heavily promoted in the media, right? I think that there is a whole agenda to cause a divide, I think, between the black man and the black woman from many different angles, especially from the perspective of white supremacy, creating that division, and then interjecting, you know, the white male or a woman, you know, in the mix of that, right, to cause that division, to separate and tear down the black family. I think that is an intentional agenda that is at play here in America. But across the seas, not to say that there aren't, you know, obviously there are, I think, people from all different parts of the globe who are open to interracial sex and relationships, but I think that it's kind of less. I think it's few far in between on the continent of Africa. Yeah. Because if that was the case, I mean, yeah, you see products, you see people being born that are the products of interracial relationships on the continent, but what do you see more of, though, right? You see more of people breeding within their own race and their own color. That's what you see. And not only that, but more specifically within their own tribe. They're not even stepping outside of their tribe. So let's say, for example, they're from Nigeria, right? And they are of the Yoruba tribe. Like, they stay within that Yoruba tribe. The Hausa tribe. They stay within that whatever tribe that they are part of. They only date, they're only interested in people within that tribe, right? It's deeper than sex. I feel like for people who are driven solely by sex are very narrow-minded people. And you wouldn't be my type anyway, right? You're leading with this sexual fan. You're not my type, right? Like, I have more depth to who I am and what drives my behavior than sex. You know, that's very shallow, very narrow-minded. It does absolutely nothing for me. I think a lot of times on dating sites, yes, I do indicate what are some of my interests, and I name, you know, BDSM, bondage, and people approach me with that. They lead with that, assuming, oh, I'm just going to give in and bow down because you say that you're going to spank me. Like, who the fuck are you? Right? It doesn't begin there with me. It begins with the mind, right? And for me, being a politically conscious person, that's what I'm attracted to. And I can see and read through bullshit, right? You have people that try to, like, wear this mask and portray this persona as if they are politically conscious, but they're not. Like, I can see through bullshit just like a dog can smell fear. So, mix me with that bullshit, okay? He says, I feel kind of bad, but I feel more good about it, and so does my girlfriend. You ain't gotta go away to Africa, but if that's what floats your boat, then hey, do you. He says, am I normal to feel this way, or is it wrong? Listen, like, I don't think y'all quite understand. My videos is not about to, like, I'm not here to say what's right or what's wrong for a person, especially when it comes to alternative sexual lifestyles, because I'm definitely a part of that, right? I don't need anyone telling me what I'm interested in is right or is fucking wrong. I'm not here to judge. So that's not my role here. I can say that it's important to explore what drives this, to understand that, so that you can fully own that responsibility when it comes with whatever it comes with. Right, because in your mind you can have this idea that, okay, I imagine us going to Africa and then finding a African man, fully bred African man, not fucking whitewashed, right, not diluted with European blood, but pure African man on the continent, right? You're with your white wife or girlfriend, and y'all find this man, right? And he is head over heels about the idea, more than you perhaps, right? And you know, he's on board with it, and y'all do the damn thing, and you're able to witness the full, you know, this full scene play out in front of you. You're living your fantasy. But then I think people have this idea of what they imagine things to look, right? And they have it all laid out, but then they're not thinking about, okay, what are the other possible outcomes of this that can come along with it, right? And I talked about this in the video where I gave out some tips, safety tips. Go watch that video in my Cuckold series, right, on YouTube. It's entitled Cuckold, I think, Safety Tips, right? Well, I talk about this, and I think I share some stories from people who they fucked up, right? And they have many regrets, saying that if only there was a guidebook, if only, you know, they had come across a person like myself who was in tune with mental health and safety and well-being, and who could give them that coaching, right, and give them some advice, some sense of direction on how to approach, you know, these interactions, so they didn't go out blindly, being driven by their sexual desires, not quite fully understanding what's even driving those sexual urges, right? What parts of themselves that has not been tapped into quite fully, that is driving this urge, right? For you who are watching this, who sent that email, for you to witness your wife, you know, get banged out and bred with an African man. Like, what's driving that? Do you know, what are the consequences of that, right? How is that going to impact your relationship? If you even care about her, right? If y'all have an established bond and trust between each other, how that, of course, is going to shift things. You're saying that she's on board and she's consenting, she's willing to participate in this fantasy of yours. Like, how is that going to impact her in your relationship with her? That is it could most likely change things between you two, right? What could be the outcome of that sexual interaction that your wife has with an African man? What is that going to look like? You know, are you prepared to deal with it? You know, a lot of people aren't. They just they say they want something, but then they get it, but you're not really ready for what comes with that, right? So yeah, that's my take on that. You guys feel free to share your comments below. For me, I know that I am involved in a certain dynamic. I'm involved in a certain lifestyle that can be very dangerous, right? It's not your typical vanilla relationships, even though, like, when you think about it, even the vanilla relationships can be off the fucking chain. Just your regular relationship. So add on these fetishes, these fantasies, these proclivities that are deeply embedded in us, that come from most likely trauma, you know, that has not been fully dealt with, or even if it has been resolved, you know, it's still like lingering residual effects that are there. Right? Add on all of that in this context, you know, one must take precaution in moving forward, right, with these types of activities, and be fully responsible, right, for your actions and the actions of other people that you're involved with, because you're going to have to take responsibility not only just for what you are consenting of, but what they do, you know, because you're involved with this person. So that's something to think about. But yeah, I wish y'all would stop freaking inboxing me like as if it's my fucking duty. It's not. It's never gonna happen that way. And I said, and even if in the slightest chance that I was willing to pursue, which I'm not, it's not gonna happen. It just wouldn't end well. It would not end well. You'll be like that blackmail. Y'all have to go watch that video that I made on this black cuckold, right? It's just type in, when you search in my videos, right, just type in black male cuckold. I forget the exact title, but type in those keywords, yo. I did go in. I thought that this shit was kind of funny because it's like, he put himself in that situation. It's one thing if you are innocent, right? You know, you're a child and this is happening to you. But you are a grown-ass man, right? This is something that you went into with intention. And then now you go through it and you're like, it's fucked up. Women take advantage. She doesn't really love me. I just want someone to love me. It's like, what do you truly want? Like, that is where the work comes in and this deep self-reflection comes in, right? What do you truly want? Do you want someone to love you? And what does that look like? Because I think, as I said, I think in my very first cuckold video, right? Go look at my very first cuckold video. I talked about the psychological underpinnings of why white men are drawn to this type of dynamic. And it's something that you're chasing after. It's an experience. It's a feeling that you're chasing after, that you experienced that made you feel good. Right? You were conditioned to believe that this is what love feels like. So you're chasing after that. You're never going to get it again. It's not going to happen. You're craving that. And you're also craving to fill this void that's within. But you're not going to be able to fill it, right? I make this statement, I'm definitely going to end this video, but I've said this before, that people who grew up, like as a child, you grew up with the experience of not having love, not feeling the love. Let's say of your mother, or it could be father, right? A parental figure. You grew up missing this love from this parental figure. The reality, and it's a very unfortunate, could be dark reality, is that you're never, and I can say this with confidence and clarity, you will never, ever get that love that you did not get from your absentee father or your absentee mother. And the mother and the father can be physically present, but emotionally and psychologically absent. You're never going to get that love. Why? Because the love that you were supposed to get at 3 years old, 4 years old, 7, 8, 9, 10, from your mother or father that you did not get, you're supposed to get it then. Right? There are certain critical moments in our development that things must happen at that time. Right? You cannot, as an adult, grow up and then try to fill that void, right? And try to seek out relationships that's going to mimic that. That nurturing that you miss at the age of 5, 6, 7 years old. You can attempt to, right? But it's not the same. So you're always going to have that void. A void will always be there. Trust and believe, because that need went unmet. It was supposed to be met back then, and you didn't get it. Right? It's a time-sensitive need. That's the key word. Time-sensitive. It expired. You did not get that when you were 2. That you were supposed to get. You're supposed to get it at 2. You didn't get it. Right? So you're stuck there. On that note, in this video. Y'all like my cute socks? I wore them just for this video. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Drop your comments below and share this video.